Please welcome to the stage the National Chief of the Order of the Arrow, David Gosik.
Good evening, NOAC! It is truly such a blessing to be here with all of you tonight. We are here. The time has arrived. The opening night of the Order of the Arrow's premier event, the National Order of the Arrow Conference. NOACs have a special place in my heart. I attended my first conference in 2018 at the age of 12. And when I checked in, I was told that I was the youngest airman in attendance. So tonight, I'd like to do something special for an airman at this conference. I'd like to give a shout out to my fellow airman, Kaylee. Kaylee is a member of Amatdio Lodge in Ogden, Utah. And currently, she's sitting in section 19, just up there. Now, Kaylee's an airman, just like the rest of us, but she has the distinction of being the youngest attendee of NOAC 2024. Kaylee, I'm so excited to see you experiencing a NOAC so early in your scouting journey, and I promise you that you are going to have an amazing week. Conference, please join me in giving a round of applause to Kaylee. NOAC is life-changing. In the next week, you will all experience memories that you will carry with you for the rest of your lives. If this is your first conference, tonight is a truly special gathering. And if you've been to a NOAC before, you all know that feeling. Seeing thousands of airmen gather together for the first time, it takes our breath away. My first conference was truly something special. No doubt, it introduced me to what the Order of the Arrow had to offer, and I was enveloped in an organization that now means the world to me. Yet, there were moments that have stuck with me every day that I've been a member of the Order of the Arrow. Moments that have taught me this: small acts of love are the greatest force in the world. These moments of brotherly love that I'll share with you all tonight have given me the greatest family that I have ever known. 6 years ago, I stepped forward, and I took my place in our order. To be honest with all of you, I wasn't having the best induction weekend. You see, that year, my troop, Troop 303 in Virginia Beach, had elected 16 people to join our local lodge, Blue Heron. "15 of the scouts elected went to the March ordeal, and 1 scout went to the May ordeal. Me. So there I sat in the deep humidity of Southern Virginia on that Saturday night alone at my table in the dining hall. That was until someone patted me on the back and sat down next to me. He introduced himself as my chapter chief, and he started telling me about all the chapter and lodge programs that I could get involved in. But one thing he mentioned with greater enthusiasm than all the rest was that I could go to NOAC. Immediately, my brain flooded with questions. I began to ask him, what is a NOAC? What's it all about? But most importantly, why me? He said, "David, because I want you there." That statement surprised me. Thinking about it, there are so many other people he could have sat with and talked to. His friends on the LEC, his colleagues on the executive board, even the guys from his troop. But he chose to sit with me. And so, even though I was a bit unsure, I decided I'd take him up on the offer, and I went home and I told my parents that I wanted to go to NOAC. 2 months later, I found myself at the national conference at Indiana University in Bloomington. Got some Indiana guys out there, all right. Now, I want to put all of you in my shoes. Imagine you're a 4'10", 12-year-old scout at the opening night of the national conference, just like me up here. You've never been to an event other than your ordeal, and you know approximately one person out of these 7,000 attendees. How would you feel? Honestly, I was afraid. I was intimidated by all the Eagle Scouts, the Vigil Honor members, all these people who seem to know so many more others than I did. It seemed that everyone in the order knew their place and their purpose, except for me. That night, I went to sleep with a heavy loneliness weighing on my chest, and when I woke up the next day, I dreaded another lonely day. That was until I sat down for breakfast and I heard a plate clatter right next to mine. I looked up and there was my chapter chief grinning at me. He asked me, he said, "David, how's your conference going?" I said, frankly, not great. I told him in one word, I felt lost. He said, "David, no worries. You can hang out with me today." That statement was so simple for him, so easy, and yet it meant the world to me. To think about it, my chapter chief, who seemed to know everybody in Blue Heron and who had a friend everywhere he went, wanted to spend his time with a guy he just met 2 months before. It was unfathomable to my 12-year-old mind. And yet, I spent the rest of the conference with him, and I had an amazing time. From the shows, to the games, to the activities, to the trainings, I quickly fell in love with the Order of the Arrow, and I was ready to dive in head first. Now, I want to address all of you personally tonight. I know that some of you in the arena tonight may feel like I did at my first night at the conference. You may be nervous, disengaged, or lost. Maybe you don't have that chapter chief looking out for you, but I want you to know that no matter what, you have me. I want to be for you what my chapter chief was for me. Hear me say this. I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to hang out with all of you at the conference this week. You belong here. Looking back, I wouldn't be standing here today if it was not for that conference. NOAC gave me the spark that I have proudly carried for the past 6 years. And without that chapter chief, I never would have attended NOAC. Both of those actions, at my ordeal and at my breakfast at NOAC, were at their core simple acts of love. If there's one message I could impart with all of you tonight, it is to show love in all that you do. As members of the Order of the Arrow, love is at the very center of who we are as an organization. Every person in this room shares a common value within our hearts and our souls. We have all received the admonition. We have all pledged to love one another. Love was incredibly significant to our founder, Dr. E. Erner Goodman. In 1913, Dr. Goodman visited the Gettysburg battlefield in Pennsylvania for the Great Reunion, 50 years after the bloody battle that occurred on that soil. This Great Reunion hosted Union and Confederate soldiers alike, joining in brotherhood and sharing a love so forgiving, so real, that it affected Goodman personally. He witnessed men who took part in the deepest division that our country has ever experienced. And despite these soldiers not being related, he watched them treat each other as if they were true brothers. 2 years later, when he founded the Order of the Arrow at Treasure Island, love was at the center of his plan. In devising what it meant to be an airman, he intended that every member take up the admonition and dedicate the rest of our lives to loving each other. And in a way, that makes the Order of the Arrow so unique from every other organization in the world. Where else can you find a group, a club, an association where love is explicitly expressed as our sole core value? When you joined the OA, you endured a full induction weekend. You'd heard about how cool the Order of the Arrow was. And after all your hard work, scant food, night under the stars, and vow of silence, you stand there, ready for Alawat Sakima to tell you the most important thing and the biggest secret about the Order of the Arrow. And he leans down and he whispers this to you in the admonition to love one another. After all that, and you get told to do what? To do nothing but love. This has been the central vow of our order for 109 years. And when you keep it and you live it, that's when I believe we see the simplest and truest beauty of our organization. So what does it truly mean to love someone? Well, love is difficult to define. Acts of love can come in so many forms, but it's important to remember that love can be so simple. I'd like to return to the story that I shared with all of you earlier tonight. That chapter chief showed me a simple act of love, to show me that I was welcomed, that I belonged, that I mattered. It was nothing more than a few words and a smile for him. But for me, it was friendship, a possibility, a sign of hope. And that love has stuck with me and motivated me during my entire time in the order. At 12, after my NOAC experience, I wanted to do everything my chapter chief did. I wanted to be just like him, leading and active in the order, and showing our members small acts of love. His actions are ultimately a spark that would motivate me on my personal journey of leadership. I would follow in his footsteps as chapter chief, and then we would both go on to serve as lodge officers, lodge chiefs, section chiefs, and now we have both served as national chiefs of the Order of the Arrow. Tonight, I want to say thank you to my best friend and my brother in scouting, Zach Gosik. He was my chapter chief. He has gifted me with one of the most beautiful friendships that I've ever experienced and showed me what the Order of the Arrow truly is. We're so much more than a service organization, an honor society. We are a family, and family is something you carry with you wherever you are and something you can rely on for the entirety of your life. Family is something you love unconditionally and eternally, and that is what makes us brothers within the Order of the Arrow. Just as I love my chapter chief, I love all of you, and I encourage you to show your love for each other. Just by being here in this room tonight, I know that you have experienced the love that the family within our organization offers. Whether someone invited you to a meeting, or offered to give you a ride, or even selected you for a position, you have been loved. And in the words of St. Therese of Lisieux, love is repaid by love alone. So I'd like to offer all of you a challenge. In all that you do it with love. When you meet someone new and shake their hand, do it with love. When you see a new airman sitting alone and you join them for a meal, do it with love. And when you change someone's life for the better, which I know all of you will, do it with love. Thank you, NOAC. Let's have a great week. I love you.